There's a lot of activity going on behind me, so I would recommend you make your way here if you're not already on your way. Cherie, can you stand? There's no Wi-Fi. Go out to that door and see if it's on the platform. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Felicia Hopkins. I'm with the Harford County Health Department Minority Health Program. I have special guests here with me tonight representing Edgewood Family, and I'm going to introduce them in a minute, in CARES Community. We're still kind of getting situated here. I know people are getting off work, but we are very excited about what's going to take place here tonight. And so I would like for everyone that is listening to take some time and share your screen, share this message, share with others that are on your platforms. Some of you have joined us since November 10th, where we meet every second Friday in the month, talking about what is going on in our community. We have some very serious concerns. We've been talking about this for years, but more heavily within the last few months. And so I'm glad. Thank you for whoever shared that. I want to introduce Cherie, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself while we are getting some other things together. So, Cherie, come on over.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Cherie. I am a member of Edgewood. I have been for my whole life. I'm also an admin on the Edgewood Family Facebook group. I know you all joined it. We're just out here trying to make a difference in the community and be a part of the change. So if you're not a member of the Facebook page, you can find us at Edgewood Family, and we love for you to hear all of your input about the conversations around the community.
Thank you, Cherie. Listen, this is like a fireside chat tonight. And we always said that it takes a village, it takes a community to come together as one to have these conversations. And so what we're looking for, if we find that any of our comments aren't joining in to be polite or they're aggressive, we have a moderator checking all of our comments. You will be removed, but we are encouraging questions. We're encouraging your comments, good comments to this conversation that is going to go on here tonight. Please share it. And joining me on my left and maybe your right would be Miss Angelique Newman, and she's coming. Come on. Listen, we're just out here, y'all. Angelique Newman with the founder of CARES Community, Inc.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining.
So that's what she would like to say tonight. Yes. I know she's going to have more to say, but we're going to start out with some announcements. And as they come up on the screen, I'm going to just give some announcements before we introduce our special guests on tonight. So I'm really excited about this. I know that the community has been hype about this need for a laptop. If you need a laptop, the Harford County government is giving out free laptops tomorrow. Residents and veterans may qualify for a free laptop through the Maryland Connected Devices program to help low-income families connect to the internet. And also the distribution event is tomorrow, March 9th from 10 to 2. Meet them at the Edgewood Public Library. If you don't know the address, it's 629 Edgewood Road. I know that the font might be a little small, but we are going to put this information in the chat for you. If you need a laptop, they have laptops available.
If they are unable to make it tomorrow, they can put an application in at the Epic Center at any time.
So Angelique just said, if you're not able to make it tomorrow between that time, you can put an application in at the Edgewood Epic Center on tomorrow, right?
Anytime.
And we look forward to this event every year. I do, as a member of the health department and just a member that might need services and help. The 2024 Project Connect is here, and it is coming up April 24th from 10 to 2. They are going to be providing, I got my progressives on, but this might be a little hard for me to read because I want y'all to hear this. They are offering dental screenings, eye exams, prescription and reading glasses to participants, limited to first come, first serve, blood pressure screenings, vaccinations and boosters, mental health resources, birth certificates. Now, if any of you out there have needed a birth certificate and you had to pay the $25, if you get here on that particular day, you're going to get a birth certificate for free. The first time I went to Project Connect, there was a family that had 6 children, and she needed to put her children in daycare. She needed the daycare, the birth certificates. And I had serviced her that day, not giving the birth certificate, just walking around. And she was able to get 6 birth certificates on the spot. That saved her maybe $200, $300. Who's out there doing the math? $25 a pop, 6. Y'all be there, be square. I'm telling you, they'll have housing and rental resources, domestic violence support, record expungements, substance abuse and addiction resources, budget planning, job resources, haircuts, and a food pantry. They're going to also have giveaways, and everybody that attends is going to get a free bag lunch for all guests. So again, that is April 24th from 10 to 2:30. And everything is on a first come, first served basis. We have people joining us inside of the building. For those of you that are joining us in the building, we're waiting for another laptop to come in so you guys can see this up here. The prison doctor is already on, and housekeeping rules. There's a bathroom in the hallway, and there's no Wi-Fi on your phone, but there's Wi-Fi here. There you go. Next. The link to join virtually. To join my screen virtually?
No, to see the virtual.
The meeting is accessible. It's on there. It's on Edgewood Family. It is on Community Connections Foundation. If you're trying to join and you're listening, you can also join on Felicia Grant Hopkins' page. Can they? There's no other link. It's going to stream live. It's streaming live right now. So they're going to have to go on a Facebook page to see it. Okay. And so I also want to make this special announcement. This is really important. We understand that marijuana and cannabis is legal here in Maryland. There will be, I'm going to read this, cannabis-related conviction. No cost attorney to review your record for possible removal. An attorney will be present from 12 to 2 p.m. to review your cannabis-related convictions for possible expungement. The registration there's a registration that is required. The phone number is right there on the screen for you. It's March 27th from 12 to 2 p.m. You can, it will be at the Woodbridge Station Way in Edgewood. And the agencies sponsoring this are our local Hartford County branch NAACP and the Hartford Community Action Agency. So if you know anyone that is in need of reviewing this to see possibly if this can be taken off of their record or expunged, please give them a phone call and register. Next. I'm waiting for the next flyer. There we go. All right. Something fun right here. A night at the planetarium. It says, get ready for a solar eclipse. And I know that if you are living in Hartford County, if you have a child in middle school, elementary school, or high school, you have probably been to the planetarium. This is going to be absolutely free. This is Thursday, March 21st from 6 to 6:30, 6:45 to 7:15 p.m. and 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. So they're going to have quite a couple of dates that you can go. Edgewood Middle School Planetarium. and it's free. I went, I think last month with my group, and it was absolutely fantastic. My first time in one of the planetariums here in Harford County. So something fun for the whole family to do. Next slide. All right, so I am with the health department, but I'm also connected to Upper Chesapeake Health. They are highlighting the high need to address diabetes out here in Harford County. They have another program coming up. They have a 6-month program. It's free. They have a 12-month program. You get a lot of good information. You get somebody that's going to follow you for those 12 months, some in person, some online. And the date that they begin this next cycle begins April 29th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. The information, it says working with trained lifestyle coaches, teaches skills to lose weight, become more physically active, manage stress. Let me tell you something. I talked to 2 people that went through this program, and they absolutely loved it. I don't remember how much weight that they lost, but your A1C is very important. Knowing your A1C, knowing your blood pressure, your sugar levels, those are all very important. And also next flyer. Right. And some of you might not know, there is a family health center, One North Main, sponsored, that is from the Harford County Health Department. They do pediatric dental services, women, infants, and children WIC program. They service nutrition services for pregnant or postpartum women, infants, and children to age 5, available on Tuesdays. They have nutrition services provided by registered dietitian, a women's wellness and free teen and young adult walk-in clinic for STIs and treatment and nutrition and weight. The flyer is right there. You can read it. And they do have services for the Hispanic community. And again, I am with the Minority Health Program. We are out here once a week in, I guess, Village of Lakeview, Windsor Valley, Somerset, Havre de Grace. We're at different events across the county, bringing health and wellness and resources to the Black and Brown community, and whosoever, not just us, but whosoever will, bringing attention to hypertension, diabetes, mental health, and all of those services that affect us in our community. I'm going to bring up to you one other individual, and listen, I'm just going to preface this with this. When I bring her up, she knows that we are on a schedule, Miss Daphne. And so she's going to come up and give a few words about why we are here right now, tonight, with the prison doctor, while we let Heather set up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daphne Austin, co-founder of Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters, an organization that originated in Harford County for myself and Miss Mildred Sam after both our sons were victim of homicide here. This will be our 15th year. Sad to say, our numbers keep rising and rising. And also sad to say that there's nobody from the community that shows up, and nobody from the community shows up to say enough is enough and how do we find our way out of this. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you what's wrong, because we already know what's wrong. We watch the news, we watch it, and we watch everything. What we want to stand up here is for solutions, because one child is too many. And my reason for joining up with this organization stuff, because I feel like the community is letting our young children down tremendously. I grew up in a community where everybody was involved in a child's life, from recreation, from church, for everything. I don't see that happening. And because of that, our young people are astray, and we can no longer hold our young people accountable, because they are mere reflections of what they see from us as adults and what goes on in their household. And so what if it happens in the household? You shouldn't walk out in the streets and see the same thing. So we have to find a better way to come together as a community so we can eradicate some of these problems, so we can leave a future for our children that's looking bleak right now. So it's up to every last one of us in here and our friend partners and all to come together and say enough is enough, and we need to do something now.
My God, today. No. We're not gonna go down that road. We're not gonna go down that road. We're here to have a family discussion. And also, as we are waiting to get everything set up, we are going to make a special announcement about how we got here today to bring on our special guests. What some of you all don't see is that we have community members that have shown up, and I want to thank each and every one of them. I'm going to publicly say who they are. We've got Jonathan Foster here with the Southern Task Force. Thank you for coming. I think it's Maria McCarthy back there. We have OBLA out here with Janika and Melissa. We also have Reverend Cordell Hunter here. And we also have Vicki Jones with president of the NAACP out here. We have Lady Webster here. And so I am thankful we have Be Safe here with Jess and her wonderful husband that come out and support us just about everywhere we go. And I really appreciate the support. This is going to be a very good discussion tonight. Some of the images that you're going to see, as I really want you, everyone in here, to be able to see them. We were concerned about the fact that we had these deaths with our young men. It takes a lot to have to pull out a gun and load it with the intent to kill. It takes a lot on both sides of the gun, where you're going to go and possibly take a life, and then the victim, and then the families that are connected to that particular act. We don't want to lose one other child. We don't want to lose one other adult. We got to be proactive. And tonight, some of the images that you're going to see of what the prison doctor is able to do, we're going to read his bio before we have him on. They might be a little jarring. It's a lot to see, a lot to hear. But at the same time, we really want to bring in the imagery of the realities of what is possibly going on in some homes here in this county, homes across the states, the United States of America, but right here at home. And so if you can pull up his bio, I wanted to see if we can read it on there. We're going to start to read it. Put it on the split screen and the video. Thankfully, I have a moderator tonight. Let me see. I have questions on here. Just give me a minute, y'all. It's coming up. Looking for his bio. Like, my eyes might not be able to read it, but I'm gonna try my best. So while they're trying to get that up, I have one other announcement that I wanted to make. I'm so sorry, and I know that she's out there listening. So Hartford Square, they're doing some great work out there with Carmen and her committee and her group. They're going to have a Community Connections Day on April 13th with the homeowners and the residents. They're going to discuss concerns and plan an action to improve the community. They're going to have a lot of fun out there. They're going to have food, fellowship, and fun. They're going to have a cleanup and everything. But these are their upcoming events that they're having. So they would love for you to join in, but the health department will be there with them to join in as well. I'm going to have to pull this up on the screen. They're having some problems pulling it up. Are we up on the screen? Thank you so much.
She has a Mac, so that's different.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my computer around, and so everybody can see Mr. Myron Fountain when he gets up. Did you want to read this? No? Okay. So our guest tonight, Myron Fountain, is the CEO and founder of the Prison Doctor Incorporated and serves on its board of directors. The Prison Doctor started a 501c3 called Prison Doc Incorporated, where he goes into homes of at-risk youth to mentor and transform their lives. The Prison Doctor has assisted with getting guns off the streets, getting young children out of gangs and runaways to return home. His passion and ability to transform children's lives has gained the respect of police officers and city officials. Before being known as the Prison Doctor, he was a high school dropout and later became educated by the School of Hard Knocks. He spent 20 years of his life in prison for vehicular armed robbery when he was just 19 years old. We all have heard the expression, physician, heal thyself, which is actually what the Prison Doctor has done. He earned his GED and holds several certifications from Prison University. Myron is highly skilled in mediation, conflict resolution, critical thinking, cage your rage, thinking for change, and life skills. Despite the horrors behind the wall, he made the decision to use the one thing man cannot contain, a free mind. He knows firsthand the ills of society and how they are destroying this generation of champions. Over the past decade, Myron has made it his life mission to save as many children as possible from prison. Myron's call to duty is to educate our youth about thinking for a change, dispelling the myth of prison life, and inspiring them to tap into their greatness. He is committed to helping young people fulfill their purpose and not spend one day behind prison bars. As a prison doctor, he has gained international attention with over 30 million views on his social media platforms, and by going into over 2,000 homes and 30 states, mentoring children and transforming their lives. He has also created a program where he takes certain ex-felons from prison and turns them into mentors, calling them prison doctor assistants, which helps combat the recidivism rate. Most recently, the prison doctor received the World Peace Revival Award. This award is a movement of prayer, kindness, and unity inspired by Dr. King that promotes world peace. The movement's goal is to turn division into unity and remind the world of the power of prayer and kindness. And so before we bring him on, we're going to show, and I'm going to have to turn this around because y'all need to see this. You guys are working on it? Okay. Some of the images from what the prison doctor does. As soon as we get it up on the screen, you'll be able to see it, but people online can see it. And unfortunately, you'll not be able to see it from your phones. But Faith, we're ready for you to play one of the videos. You should be able to hear it. Okay, let me see where the volume is so you can hear it.
What if I just pull that up on this,
Can you pull it up on the screen?
this screen? And then turn it up.
That works better.
We're trying to get the volume working over here. So while we're trying to get the video up, I'm going to bring our special guest on. And I'm so thankful for the fact that he made time. I made a phone call to him one time, just on a whim, just going to see, when we can get him out here. And he immediately called back within that same hour. And we talked for a little while. We set up plans with his wife, and here he is. Hello, hello. How are you?
Hi, how are you and everyone in your audience there? How are you guys doing?
We're all well. We're so glad to have you join us tonight. Um, Thank you, first of all, for the work that you've done for so many. And secondly, for making time for Harford County on today. Um, as I shared with you, I sent you some article clippings and some imagery of what we've been dealing here and what we're trying to do as a community. But before we go into those particular questions and comments and concerns, could you share with us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first, let me thank you for being a person who is fighting for children and making communities better. Your staff, or the people that's in your audience, you guys, from what I'm hearing, are doing great work out in Maryland. So my hat is off to you guys, and I also want to thank God. I think that God should be acknowledged in all that we do, because without God, we can do nothing. Nothing will ever get done without God. So I always like to give praise and honor to God before I even speak. So with that said, they call me the prison doctor. I'm a prison prevention specialist. I go into homes of at-risk youth. It is a program similar to like a Scared Straight program, a little bit different than the Scared Straight program, because we have certain tactics that have been proven to be true and effective. Over 10 years that I've been doing these house calls as the prison doctor, we have potentially helped and saved over 3,000 children from
Wow.
going to prison or being murdered on the streets.
Wow.
I give all praises due to God for that. Mostly it's because of my relatability, which is a very key component that I'm sure we'll touch on today, as far as how to be effective with at-risk youth. You have to be relatable. You have to be very relatable to these kids today. Otherwise, it'll go in one ear and out the other. So that is my story. And I'm just here to help. So you guys have a plan. Let's talk about it and let's see what we can do. I do not like a lot of conversation. I'm about action. Kids don't have time to wait. Everybody's talking. Everybody's doing town halls every month. There's a town hall about the problem. Well, I'm beyond the problem. Let's hear the solution.
That that's the main thing. We're about action. And that is why we have so many community leaders out here tonight doing just that. And so in the effort of we have another platform that we can hear you double. So I'm going to talk a little softer. And so the first question is, why do you think the work you are doing, why do you why do the work you do with helping families, I think that's what it's saying. What the work that you do with families is so important. I think
Well,
you
because
answered that question.
well, the simple answer is because it's needed. Um, our children are in a bad way. We are literally in a national crisis right now with our youth. And anytime we have, the music is one of the biggest problems that we have in our community with our young people. Anytime you have this young girl called Sexy Red, I don't like to call her Sexy Red because I have a wife. So Dirty Red is what I'll refer to her as, Dirty Red. And anytime we can have a young girl who talks about calling women B's and H's and glorifies Satan and talks about materialism and degrading women, and this young girl goes platinum with over 3 million views worldwide, 3 million followers in this country alone. That is a problem. The music. I come from Motown. My father helped Barry Gordy and Smokey Robinson start Motown Records back in the 50s before I was
Wow.
born. My father is the horn on Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On." Let's get it on. That opening saxophone riff is my father, Eli Fontaine.
Wow.
I
Wow.
grew up. I grew up under a different umbrella where music had inspiration, it had substance and hope. It inspired you. You know, the groups called themselves the Miracles and the Supremes, meaning the highest. You know, today these groups are calling themselves things that will make your head spin. The music is horrible. It elicits violence and destruction and death. And our children are hearing this daily. And
Mhm.
that is a big problem in our community, particularly in our Black community, but in our communities, period. And that is a problem that I am constantly addressing on my social media, is that we have to be more conscious of what's going in the ear gate and the eye gate of our children.
You said it right on point, that music, and we have to be conscious of what they are digesting. Because once they have an appetite for that unclean thing, it's up to us parents to be able to help to uproot that as well. So, thank you so much for that answer. I'm going to go up for the next question. If you could give three main reasons our children are so violent and out of control today, could you give us three reasons that you believe that our children are so violent and out of control today?
I would say lack of purpose is one. Lack of
Wow.
purpose is one. I would say fatherless homes is two. There are too many absentee fathers. 80% of the house calls that I perform, there's no father in the home. 80% of the house calls that I perform, there is no man in the home.
Wow.
Number three, I would say spirituality, the lack of God.
Yeah.
Cannot solve this problem with our children and talk about stopping violence if you do not include God, some form of spirituality at the very least. At the very least. I mean, anytime you have these schools that have, removed God, God isn't spoken in the homes no more. Back when I was growing up, every Sunday you go to grandma or grandpa's house and have Sunday dinner. Everybody was praying. There was some form of spiritual leadership spoken in the home. Not today. Everybody's distracted and God has become like Santa Claus, a mythical figure. And that's really ridiculous. So those are my three.
We can hear you. We're having some connectivity problems as far as on the screen. I'm going to move over here and ask the next question. So the three main reasons that you talked about, we talk about the social determinants of health and a sense of stability, a sense of believing in something bigger than yourself. Having a relationship with Jesus Christ is the most important thing. But even still with that, people don't have a sense of a safe space, to land. And when you're talking about the fact that the fatherless homes, and fatherless comes in so many different forms. It comes in the fact that you have a father in the home that is not connected emotionally to the children or the mom. And also, you're hitting on some very good points that we need to really delve into. We have our connectivity is everyone inside that can now see you and they can hear you. And also, we're going to go on to the next question. And at any time, they're checking the chat for feedback. The questions are coming up left and right, so we're going to get to those as well. Can you provide an example of a successful prevention program or initiative you have developed or implemented in the past? What were the key components of that success?
Well, again, children know the real deal. These children are very smart. These are not stupid kids. They're very destructive and out of control kids, but they're not stupid. So these kids can smell a phony from the real deal. And when you go into these homes or you dealing with these children, sometimes they can see through the BS, quite frankly. And if you're not coming, demonstrating talking the talk and walking the walk, these kids they're not gonna take you serious. So I use a very up close and personal, real type of interaction I have with children, and I also demonstrate love. And that love comes through discipline. It comes through giving them structure. It comes through giving them boundaries and guidelines, and it comes through giving them God. So these kids are crying out for people that love them. They don't feel loved, and that's very easy to believe because most people today are demonstrating hate. I mean, it is very hard to hear people talk about love. You don't even hear the conversations about love. In homes, children are telling me that their mothers don't tell them they love them every day. That they love them every day. That's almost like a job. It's sad to say this, but people find it very difficult to tell your child, I love you every day. To tell your child that I expect great things from you today. I mean,
Positive affirmations.
Yeah, so kids are constantly hearing death all day through the music, right? Through the streets. They're hearing death and destruction. They're seeing it on TV when they come home and on video games. Fortnite and Call of Duty and all this garbage is being filtered into our children's brains. So they're constantly seeing death, destruction, and hate and materialism. And very rarely are they hearing love. Very rarely are they hearing that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. Very rarely are they receiving hugs from their mom and their dad. This is very problematic. So to me, it's not really a mystery what's going wrong with our children. Everybody's asking, well, what's going wrong with us? This stuff is not rocket science. When you remove God, you remove fathers out of the home, what do you expect to happen? What are we expecting to produce from our children when all day, all they're hearing is negative music that defiles and degrades women and calling themselves B's and H's and the N word. And then they're going to school and all they're seeing is negativity from their friends in the streets. They come home to video games and Fortnite. What do you expect to come out of our children?
My God, today. That right there is like the epic center, because it is not brain surgery. We have to be proactive as parents. We can't point our finger outside until we look inside, and it's our caregivers, whether it's mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, whoever it might be. So these are powerful answers, and I would encourage those that are listening to me, check out the Prison Doctor's Instagram page. We wanted to show you some of the images and video clips that we were able to see, but you can go on your own and see that he is not only talking the talk, he's walking the walk. He is in the homes with our young people, and he is in the homes with families and changing lives. So I'm going to go to the next question as well. Okay. How do you stay informed about current trends and research, the best practices in the field of prison prevention and intervention?
You say, how do I stay current?
Mm-hmm. How do you stay current with trends and research and best practices in the field of prison prevention and intervention?
All right. I'm going to tell you something. This may sound weird, but I know it to be true. I don't follow, people's methods of how to deal with children because it has been a complete failure. We have failed with our children. So I think it's a very wise practice not to follow the current trends of those people who say they have this thing locked down with our children and know what to do. For example, a lot of people have, I have a GED. I don't have a MBA, a PhD. I don't have none of that stuff. I know my letters are GED. Those are the letters I have behind my name. But what I have is I have a calling. I have a passion. I have a fire in my bosom to want to see my community do better than what it's currently doing. So I don't think that it requires all that lettered stuff. What I think it requires is men of God and women of God who see a problem and wants to address it. I think it requires a calling. I think it requires an anointing. And that's what we have to get back to, guys. It's just falling into our anointing of God and walking the walk and just not talking it, because that's what's happening. A lot of our preachers, a lot of our churches, bless their hearts, they're failing our children. And that's just a reality. They're failing. That's why when you go to church today, you see a lot of elderly people, bless their hearts, but you don't see the young folks. The young folks are not in the church no more. And a lot of that is because the pastors are failing our children. So for me, what I've learned is it doesn't take necessarily the so-called education of saying that you're qualified to be a pastor or a preacher or go to theological school to get the degrees. No, it just takes somebody who's anointed and has a fire, a passion to want to help these children and just get out there and do it. What I'm doing is not rocket science. It just takes some people to stand up and be a man. Be a man who cares about your community, who cares about children, and just let's go to work and make a difference.
My God. So there's a saying that I said some years ago, and it is not unique. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called.
Amen.
And I believe that since the pandemic brought to reality some of the not just the survival skills, but the inefficiencies of some of our churches. I'm not throwing anyone in the church. I'm a pastor's daughter myself. I've been born and raised in the church. But when God emptied out that box, ministry was fully outdoors. Ministry was what was going on inside your house. And
Absolutely.
also, yes, we know our ministers and pastors and bishops and churches have their place. And we know that there are great ministries doing the community work that they need to do. But this is mission critical right now. This is mission critical right now. We can't lose another life. And if there's something that can be said, if there's something that can be done, then we need to be able to do those things. And that is why I'm thankful for the people that are surrounded in this building today, that are listening to you, and those that are online listening to you, because this is our call to action. This is not going to be a one and done. This is a continual process. Go ahead.
Let me say this. I am very serious that we are literally in a national crisis. I've been doing this for 10 years. 10 years. I'm in houses every day, flying all across the country every day in these homes. And I'm telling you that if we don't get this thing together now and stop talking about it and take action, we are looking at the failure of our children down the line. I am telling you, if we do not stop this music, this perverted, sexualized music, and how they're exploiting our children in these schools and sexualizing our kids, I am warning America that we are setting our children up for failure, and it may be too late. It would literally have to take an intervention and the coming of Jesus to rectify the mess that we are leaving for our children. And I'm warning America because this thing is not getting better. It's getting progressively worse. I deal with children who are slapping their mothers at 9 years old. I deal with children who are choking and strangling their grandmothers at 10 years old. I'm dealing with little 10-year-old girls who are losing their virginity and having sex with basketball men of numbers. You understand what I'm saying? This is real. These families out here are struggling. They have no help. A lot of these families feel that they have exhausted all of their resources. The police aren't able to help a lot of these kids because they're underage, and the police department is telling parents that, hey, you're on your own. Therapy is not working for a lot of these children because the children are telling the parents, I'm not going. So if the children are telling the parents they're not going to therapy, the police officers are not helping the parents, what is a parent to do? You understand? So I'm telling America that we are in a bad way. And I can't say it enough that we have to take action, and action must start today. We cannot wait another year to get in this fight with our.
You got us fired up in here. We got people coming into the room that want to ask questions and give comments. So I'm going to let Miss Daphne hop in and speak.
Hi, good evening, prison doctor.
Hi, how are you?
My name is Daphne Austin. Live here in Edgewood in Harford County. I'm a mother of a murdered son.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Who started an organization 15 years ago called Mothers of Murdered Sons and Daughters. And I appreciate what you say. I've been saying this for 15 and 16 years. It's just that it's taken this long and so many homicides and so many things have happened for people because it has hit close to home that now people want to be involved. How can you get the community involved? I mean, we do what you do We've been doing it for years and years. And it seems to me that the community only wants to get involved generally if it's from an outside source. For somebody like you or somebody else that's a well-known person or something, it seems to connect more to the community than somebody who really lived it and have lived it. And the answer is right there, and nobody chooses to want to knock on the door to come in. So how do you talk to the community? Because I'm very satisfied with what I do and accomplishments, but how do you tell a community that what you need is already right there?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you, I'm sorry to hear about your son. You have my condolences. I mean that with all my heart. It is sad that a mother has to see a son die. It's very, very disheartening, for a child to die before his mother. So
Right.
my heart breaks for you, and I mean that with all sincerity. But let me answer that question. So again, it goes back to about relatability, right? So
Mhm.
it's very difficult, right? These children are very hard. They're very hard. These children do not care about
Right.
their own lives, so you can't expect them to care about yours. Let's
Right.
make this perfectly clear. Otherwise, we're playing a game. These kids are very rough. They're tough. You understand? They have no sense of value or identity. They don't care about no one's life. These kids can pull a trigger and rob you and kill you without blinking an eye. That is the type of kids that are in these communities today. And if you think I'm lying, look at the statistics. Look in every major city, particularly every black major city, and look at the statistics of murder and the type of murders these kids are committing. Let's understand that. So this isn't, these aren't kids that's just, you know, skipping school and smoking weed every now and then. We're talking about a generation of children today who are more brazen and more dangerous than at any time in our history. That is a fact, right? The only way you're going to be able to penetrate those type of children is you have to be relatable. You have to be able to meet them on their level. You have to be able to do that.
Right.
So I have certain tactics that I have learned through the years, through my experience of going to prison, being around that mindset for 20 years. I've been around rapists, murderers, every type of criminal you can possibly imagine. I've been around them. I was a lead facilitator in prison for 15 years of my life, where I was teaching self-help groups to people who were doing some of the most hideous crimes in America. You understand? I was facilitating classes, life skills, think of a change, cage or rage, conflict resolution, mediation skills. You name it, I took it. From that, I found my anointing. I found my calling, right? I was able to harness those skills that I learned in prison and knew how to come out here and channel it to certain children. So when I meet certain children, right, who commit certain crimes, already I know how to speak to them on their level regarding their crime. You understand what I'm saying? If you don't have those certain kind of skills of how to communicate effectively with a child, if you do not know how to help a child come through stress or anger or whatever they're struggling with, if you don't know their language and what tactics to use, you will be ineffective as a parent, as a mentor, as a leader. This is why a lot of our people in communities are failing. They have good intentions, great intentions, right? And a lot of them have PhDs in certain skills you would think would work with certain children. That's just not the case. A lot of parents are using this thing called gentle parenting. Gentle parenting works with some kids, but when you're dealing with tier 3 children, tier 3 meaning violent children that are very verbally abusive, physically abusive, you cannot employ gentle parenting, soft tones with those type of children. They will laugh at you. I've had it happen with parents that have been doing this stuff for years. You have to know how to speak to children in a certain tone in order that they become receptive to you pouring into them the things you're trying to get them to learn. You have to break them down first. And that's what a lot of parents and other educators are failing when they're speaking to certain children, is you can't go into a child that just slapped his mother or pistol whips his mother and expect to go to that child and say, hey, Tommy, what's wrong with you? You shouldn't pistol whip your mother. That's not the right thing to do. You can't talk to little Tommy like that. He just pistol whipped his mother. He's not trying to hear that like that. You have to know how to employ certain tactics in order to get their attention, that they become receptive, that you can pour into them what you're trying to get them to understand.
I understand that, but is it the children or is it the actions and stuff that's around the children that may have made them come like this? I don't blame anything on the children. It's, children do what they see. The only learning we do is from the womb to age 5. Everything after that, we retain information. That's it. We don't learn anything. We start repeating everything that we see. So how can you make adults come up and be honest with themselves and be honest with themselves and tell the truth?
Well, the saying is,
change their
the apple don't fall too far from the tree. Let's understand that. So we can't talk about stop the violence until we talk about stop poor parenting. You understand? We can't talk about stop the violence with our kids until we address poor parenting. You understand? So most of the work, I can go in a room and spend 5 minutes with a parent that's dealing with a troubled teen. After 5 minutes of talking to that parent, I quickly understand what's going wrong with that child. So there is an absolute direct line to the parents, right? Children, parents are not parenting properly because parents don't know how to parent. A lot of these young girls were never taught how to parent. Grandma was not around to teach them how to parent. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these girls, mamas and grandmas are at 35 years old today. It is not hard to find a grandmother, literally, I'm not exaggerating, who is 35 to 40 years old that has grandkids. You understand? And so now if you do the math, from 2024 and you go back 30 years, you get the problem. They were not taught. A lot of these grandmothers and mothers were raised on 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying. A lot of these parents are raised on the music of Little Baby, Dirty Red, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B. You understand? You and we were raised, on Anita Baker. We were raised on the Temptations. We was raised on Stylistics. We was raised on Marvin Gaye. Now they had their music too now. But it wasn't like it is today. See, the music back then, it elicited and inspired love. It taught you somewhat how to love. It spoke about one woman, one man, marriage, faithfulness. A lot of those songs back then, it made you want to be in love. It made you want to stay faithful, want to stay committed, want to raise a family. Today, family reunion. Remember some family reunion? Today, that's not what these kids are hearing. They're hearing shoot your brother, F your mother. You know what I mean? Money over your own life. That's what this music is doing to our kids today. And that's a very important factor, guys. So because we're not gonna make any difference with anything till we start picking apart those things that are causing our children to go wrong. The first thing we need to start getting rid, one of the top 5 in my line is the music. We need to start boycotting these record executives who is pushing this negative music and filtering it in our Black communities. All through the radios, that's even with white people. White people, even white kids are being affected with it. But the Black community is being more affected with it. You understand? We have to start boycotting these record labels. And
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Start getting the parents to stop playing that crap.
Yeah, sorry, we do. I do apologize for interrupting you. Do not mean to be disrespectful. We do have several other people who would like to ask a question in regards to that. I was one of those, and then we have 2 other people, so I'm going to make mine short. I know you were saying you were given 5 points in regards to what we need to do, and the one that you brought up in regard to music. Okay, in our community, we can't control as of right now what music comes in. We can only control what is in our household. So as a community, again, when we say a call to action, we got to get active as of right now. Me personally, raising young Black men, young Black women. I am a grandmother at 40, and trust me, I was a deaconess in church for 20 years. And my children are not bad children, but my daughter had a baby. Some things, we can't control children in regards to the decisions they're going to make. We can only influence them. So I think what we're all trying to come together is how can we influence our community, to go out there and to, once again, want to care, want to be a part of what is going to on, and to be proactive versus being reactive. I think that's more of a question that we really need answer right now, because just like you, the points that you brought up tonight, I mean, a lot of our generation feels that, but I feel the part that we're missing is bridging that gap, because we're not going to take them back to the Marvin Gaye, the Temptation days, to the way church used to be or what we thought it was, because we are those parents now who have bucked up against that system. And now we're raising these children that are out here that you gave all them lovely statistics to. So what can we do right now within our community to actually bridge that gap and start bringing about that change versus continue to have these conversations?
Great question. So let me answer it like this. The reason why I go back to Marvin Gaye and the music and the type of parents we were is to show the stark difference of how we were raised and why our children were not as bad as they are today or as violent. So I use that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Not the way we were raised. And I'm talking about, like, because my grandmother was a mother at 14. You know what I'm saying? And she grew up in the church. So it's like when I hear those statistics, I'm like, I believe a perspective is missing. But however, if you want to go back to the way I was raised and by the people I was raised by, again, she was married 3 times and had to carry her first kid at 14. You know, and that was the generation before our parents' generation. And that's what they were raised up on. So I'm not too sure if I can personally connect with what you're expressing
Well,
there.
let me make it maybe a little more better for what I'm saying. There's always an exception to the rule. So we can't, in totality say that people from the 70s or the 80s who were raised on R&B of Marvin Gaye and the Stylistics or whomever, that they didn't have those same problems that people are experiencing today. Of course they did. But I'm saying on the majority of basis is what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about from a majority standpoint. The majority of children that was raised on that type of music and from that time frame are not struggling like these kids are today. So I'm just using it as a comparison. Of course, you have grandmothers that was off the chain, that were, doing things that kids are doing today. But I have to identify that, because in order to be able to bring the answer for today, we have to understand what was working right then. You understand? Otherwise, we're playing a guess game. So we have to have a track record to be able to use statistically what worked better then. What is so wrong from then to now? So we have to have that track record. I say that because that track record is revolved around the music. What's going in these kids' ear gate, their eye gate, and what has happened to God. Those are the main components to connect with children today. There's no way around it. And that's what I want all your viewers and everybody to understand, that you cannot fix this thing if you're going outside of those principles. You cannot do it if you do not change this music. One, you cannot do it if the mindset is everything is sexualized and father's not in the home and women are just doing what they want to do and everything is just, doing them. You can't do it without God. There's no way around it. And that's the problem, I think, while we're spinning our wheels, is because everybody's trying to lean into their own understanding instead of trying to do it the way we knew that worked. You cannot fix this problem, people, if you eradicate God out of the equation. And you can't do it if you're still polluting their ear gates and their eye gate with sexualized music and sexualized programming. You can't do it. Why is it that the Black community on our programs, we become addicted to this stuff, raising Cain? We become addicted to this, all the Black dope, projections of Black people, when that's clearly not the case. There's a lot of good, positive Black doctors, Black role models, Black women who are doing exceptional work in the Black community. Why are they not highlighted on these shows? The image that are being filtered into the Black communities today are, and check it out, they're using imagery from back in the day, right? Placing all the negative things that happened back in the 80s with the drugs and the gangs and the BMF and the young boys. They're highlighting that today. That is not a perfect representation or even a good representation of how Black people really are. And that's a problem, is what's being filtered in our Black kids' eye gate, their ear gate, and the lack of God. Can't do it.
Well, I just want to thank you. So from what I got from what you're saying is the call to action is just like we're out here having this conversation, we're televising it, and we continue to come together, is we will build a new imagery, and be the change that we want to see. I do appreciate your passion, but like you said, exception to the rule. I think some of those statistics, and this is my personal belief, you call it my own understanding, however, are the exception to the rule, because I live in a community where this shooting, people aren't dying every day. They aren't dying every week. Matter of fact, they're not even dying every month. And I think that sometimes we take those statistics and glorify them, so that is our reality. But I would charge and challenge everyone to look left, look right, open up your window, come out your door, and look to see who is out there, because it's not every day that all of our children, are going down the drain or going in the wrong direction. It is the exception to the rule is now that we say is the majority. But I appreciate your time with me. We do have someone else here who would like to ask a question.
Yeah, make sure you take those statistics across America. It is worse. Kids are dying every day across this country. They're being murdered. I go to these homes every day across the country. They're being murdered every day.
Hi, Prison Doctor. I'm Nate. I'm actually 20 years old, so these young women's questions are more about their parenting and how they can influence their children with their parenting and how they can change. I was actually born and raised here, so I really seen the difference of the crime going up since being a freshman in high school to now a junior in college. Right now, I'm studying criminal justice, and I just graduated with a sociology degree. What my biggest hope is how we can get these kids to get influence and want to change, because with the parents, of course, they can come in and they can fix and help solve things, but how can we get these children to want to do better, to want to look out for their future and their now?
Be a role model, be an example. You got to be a role model. The problem is because parents are not parenting properly and taking accountability for their actions. Everybody wants to, do them and party and pop bottles and be on Instagram. And this is not a, listen, when I speak, I'm speaking from what the serious problems that are strongly a detriment to our children. So please understand where I'm coming from. The parents are really just dropping the ball. The average person today, you ask the average person, do you really care about children? Do you want to save children? Do you want to help children? The average person would say, yeah. I mean, that's an easy answer for most people. Of course I want to help a child. Of course I love children. But that's not what they're demonstrating, because you have more adults who are being more perverted and doing so many just damaging things in regards to children all over social media, and we support the garbage all on TV. We're the highest consumers of a lot of this rap music, the rap culture, the gangster rap. It is a lot of the parents. It's not the children, it's the parents. And that's a strong, strong problem in our Black community. So I'm just addressing and highlighting those things that are just beyond me, that no one is really seeing that from that perspective or doing enough about it. The parents are dropping the ball in America.
Right. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to interject. So, President Doctor, we are so honored to have you here with us and even answering some of these questions for us. And I wanted the listeners to understand that this is a community conversation. I'm not expecting the prison doctor to answer all of our concerns tonight. You have to understand, for those that are listening, that he has been in hundreds of homes around the country, and thousands of homes around the country, and seen a certain theme repeated in each one. We are not giving the totality that all the parents are not parenting their children. We understand that there are different dynamics that associate themselves with how a child is raised and what is happening. I also wanted to interject the fact that we understand that, our young people are in more than one world at a time. And I mean social media, so when we were coming up, we were in one particular world and our parents knew what we were doing. But social media, we don't know what world our children might be in and what it is, language that they're speaking in that world. And so me as an older mom, I don't know how to speak the language of where they've been, because I don't know where they've been. I might be in a couple worlds myself that they won't know about. So I want us, when we're asking some of the questions, the prison doctor to be able to understand that we are bringing him in based on his expertise of what he's actually physically done.
Yeah.
And
Felicia,
okay,
can I
so
say this,
thank you.
Felicia, to you? Thank you for that. Let me say this. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful mothers in that room and all across America. I'm not.
Yes.
You got to understand where I'm coming from, right? You guys, I know.
Yes.
Listen, I know some y'all are rocking as parents. I know some of you are. You're struggling without a man, a husband, but you are doing what you do because God gave you the strength to do what you do. Understand where I'm coming from. These kids, you can pull out your phone, Felicia, and try to take a picture of any young girl between the ages of 7 years old all the way to 20. Pull out your phone and say, let me take a picture. Do you know the universal pose for most of those girls? They're going to turn a backside to the damn camera and take a picture. Exactly. That's what they're going to do. They're going to give you a back shot. You understand? That's what these kids do. So please understand. These are the problems because this stuff is serious. These kids, these little girls are being influenced by social media. You have adults on there. Every picture you see on there, some backside of some girls, and these little kids are so into their wigs, into the makeup, into the looking other than themselves. They don't want to wear their natural hair. They don't want to just be beautiful in their own natural skin. They don't enjoy their own wide black noses. They're not happy with their own hips. They're not happy with their own breasts. These kids are in an identity crisis and they are struggling because the parents, the adults, are confusing these kids on what real beauty is. We don't teach our kids, our little young black girls, to love your broad nose, love your thick lips, love your kinky nappy hair, love your broad hips. You are beautiful just the way you are. We don't talk to our kids like that. And I'm not talking about, all parents. I'm not saying all parents are dropping the ball in this regard of not teaching kids self-esteem and to love themselves. I'm telling you on the majority basis in America, we are not teaching our kids that. We are teaching our kids to be other than themselves. That's why you can wake up and be a duck tomorrow, and they got litter boxes in the bathroom of schools today telling you can meow doing roll call. Our kids are so confused because the laws are messing us up, our kids up. You understand? The adults and the legislatures are messing our kids up, are passing laws that are ridiculous. And parents are allowing our kids to be sexualized. And that's not just in one state, that's across the country. They are pushing books and pornography in schools where 5-year-old kids are learning about things that they should not be learning about. That is not a single incident. Are you kidding me? This is by the thousands. That's in San Francisco, California. That's in Detroit. It's in Tennessee. It's spreading all over the country. So understand my passion. I'm fighting for kids. You understand?
We got some more questions. We got a line of people in here that want to interject in this conversation. Oh no, I know you're passionate. I know. We can feel it and we are with you with it. And that is why this room is getting filled up with people that want to ask questions. Did you have one more?
Yeah, I have
okay,
one
so you have
more.
one more. Go ahead.
You once said earlier in the meeting how when you talk to these, younger children, you said that you get on their level. What are the tools that you do to get on their level to make them or help them react better to anything?
Right. You're trying to get my secret sauce. I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get my secret sauce.
I mean, I am studying criminal justice, so I'm just like, help me out here.
Well, each case is different. Again, you have to know how to get on a child's level by, you have to spend time with a child. Every case is different that I do. You know what I mean? People always ask me, why are you so successful with transforming these kids? How are you able to get these kids, to follow instructions and boundaries and rules and, and how do I do it? Well, one is, you gotta ask God, you know what I mean? Everybody's not called to do this work. You know what I mean? So if your child is just, a violent, out of control child, a lot of it's mental health too. Let's not forget that. A lot of these kids are being diagnosed with ADHD, OCD, ODD, schizophrenia. So a lot of these kids are struggling with mental health disorders. You understand? So sometimes it's beyond a parent's control. Sometimes these kids need a little more than boundaries and structures. They need help. They need medication. You understand?
Right.
So to answer your question, each case is different. To be on that level, you got to spend time with them. You got to know what what their problems are. You know what I mean? Is it gang related? Is it lack of a father? You have to get certain, it's like a doctor, right? You got to get certain information, right? Extract from the child, from the mother, in order to understand what the child may be lacking. You have to offer prescriptions. But that's not, you know, it just takes time. It's not an easy answer. You just got to get more information about what the child is lacking and know how to properly, you know, facilitate what they may need. And God has the ability to be able to do that because of my prison tenure and all the things that I've studied and the things that I've experienced in my life, which makes me relatable. A lot of parents don't relate to their kids. And you know what I mean? It's just a reality. These kids are growing up with so much information and social media, and they're so informed now and so misled that sometimes a parent can't connect to that child because the child is grown beyond you. That child knows more about sex and drugs and life because social media, they can just go on this little phone. You understand? And so these children they got so much information that the parents don't even. That's why you got to ask your kid how to use your phone. A lot of the adults are going, well, how do you pull up this app? You know, or tell me about what does this mean? What does this word mean? And the kids know the answer at 6 years old. So sometimes that is the disconnect. These children are being oversaturated with too much information, and it's too much. It is too much going on. What we need to do is slow down with too much information. Take these darn phones away from these kids. Stop letting these kids be on these phones, you know, from can't see morning to can't see night, and then you got them on video games. They're just filtered with overstimulated with social media. Start spending time with your children and conversating over dinner. At dinner, there shouldn't be no phones. At dinner, these things should be thrown in the bedroom somewhere or hidden. Dinner is a perfect opportunity for you to establish a relationship with your child to understand how they think, and they can understand how you think. You understand? Often that's not the case. Mom is on the phone. Look, there's 24 hours in a day. If you sleep for 8 hours, right? If you sleep for 8 hours, you wake up and you go to work for 8 hours. That's 16 hours. Then you come home. You got to get in the shower. You got to cook dinner. You got to prepare for work the next day. You didn't ate up another 4 hours. So you literally only got 4 hours of interaction possibly with your child to understand how they think, and they can understand how you think. That is a problem. We spend more time with the outside cares of the world than the inside care of the world.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for answering my questions.
I'm really a nice person. Forgive my passion. I'm just hurt. I'm fighting for kids.
Yeah, push her out there just like that.
Hey, prison doctor, we hear you.
We only have a few moments.
Listen, we only have a few moments, prison doctor. We hear you. You passionate. You got all of us up here shouting and screaming. We thank you for taking time out to sit and speak with us about, just community issues. One of the questions that I wanted to ask is kind of bring it back to full circle in the solutions. What was the change of event for you? What was an aha moment for you? Because one of the things that you talked about was the and you're right, Marvin Gaye and the different music, it was feel good. But when you look at even that time, one question, did you have both of your parents in the house? And if you did, at the age of 19, what influenced your decision to commit armed robbery and had to do 20 years?
Great question.
And what changed you during that time? What made you have an aha moment to say, you know what? This is not going to be the history for me. I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to rewrite my story. So for everyone who is listening, for any of the kids who has been through, because what we want them to understand, even if they have been through something, it doesn't mean that defines who they are. Because you are a witness, witnessing you and all that you've been through. And when you think about that, a lot of us just learned how to function in all our dysfunctions. We were surviving.
Amen.
And we did have parents in the house. And our parents was just trying to survive. The other parents was just happy at being free. Right? And so in that situation, for all the parents that are listening out there, how do we give ourselves grace? What do we do to move forward? Because we can't do anything about the past. So what was that change
that may have
of
been
event for you?
That may have been one of the most best questions of the night. And because that's going to bring it full circle. So I was raised very privileged. My father, James, I very privileged kid. I was the first kid in the studios when the Dramatics made In the Rain in 1974. I was the only kid in the studios as a little boy when the Supremes and the Jacksons was there in the 70s. Very privileged kid. I grew up spoiled. Entitled. You understand? Very entitled, very spoiled, smelling myself, and caused me to be a follower. I was a follower trying to impress people. That was one of my biggest problems, is trying to impress people, being a follower. Hey, let's go do this, Fontaine. Come on, and my little behind going, doing something that I knew innately that was wrong. I did it. Being a follower, being entitled, being privileged. Now, let me bring it full circle. What was my transformation? What was my wake-up call? It was my grandmother and my mother speaking life into me as a child with the words of, greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world, that you shall be the head and not the tail. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. See, that's the language that was spoken to me. Even in my madness, it was laying in me dormant. And it only took that mistake for that to come out and say, you know what? This is not who I am. This is not who my grandmother and my mother prayed me to be. So I knew that there was something lying dormant in me that was better than my environment. So I never succumbed to it. I didn't go into prison being a follower. I didn't go into prison. I went in being a leader. I went in as a black belt in Taekwondo, knowing how to defend myself, but I went in knowing that I was greater than my circumstances. So when I came home, I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to make a difference, because this community that we're in right now, with grown men wearing their pants halfway off their behind, where brothers are calling themselves Negroes and our little girls are calling themselves B's and responding to it as if it was their names. I says, I'm going to step up as a man and do something for my community, because I was taught citizenship as a child. I was shoveling snow at 6 years old for the elderly people who couldn't get out their driveways. I was cutting grass, hustling, making money at 10 years old. You understand me? So that's why that music thing and what you speak into your children is so important, because words penetrate. It'll go in them dormant. But right now, the language that's being poured into our children is death and destruction. It's putting money over human life. That's why a song by 50 Cent 10 years ago went platinum called Get Rich or Die Trying. Get rich or die trying. In other words, forget your life, just get rich. So I've just placed money to a higher value than my own human life. And that, from that song, you saw a degradation of our kids. Murder was at an all-time. There was a lot of murders being happening then, and kids committing B&Es and robbery. You have to speak life into your children, ladies and gentlemen. Start waking up telling your kids you love them. Why is that a problem? Why is that so hard for an adult to wake up and tell your kid you love them? Give them a hug every day. That should not be hard for an adult to do if you love your kid.
Well, it's hard for people who have not healed, and it's hard for even adults that don't feel loved.
Amen. Amen.
So we have our beautiful lady want to ask a question.
And before she comes on, we're finished at this facility and at 8. And I
hope I didn't scare anyone away, and I hope no one hates me now.
No, I'm praying that they don't, and I'm sure they don't, because I want them to be able to look at your Instagram page and the work that you actually do and the passion that you are delivering with what you're doing. They're having conversation with others inside the other room, with the people that are here. But in the interest of time, I want Ms. Sharon Jacobs, she's with InStep, and she's going to ask a question or a comment or whatever it is that she'd like. And we're going to wrap it up around 8 o'clock. But thank you so much for spending time with us on your Friday night.
Thank you so much, Felicia. And to the prison doctor, I just want to say, I want to first commend you for the work that you're doing across the United States. I think it is passionable, and it's also very commendable to go into the homes of young people and to try to get them to change their life around. Thank you for doing that work. You stated in your mission life, and one of your statements about the mission, your life's mission was to help young people fulfill their purpose in life. So my question to you is, what is the strategy that you use to ensure that young people be successful in their lives after they complete your program and complete the work with you?
I'm sorry, repeat that last part.
What is the strategy to ensure that young people be successful in their lives or after they complete the program or work with you?
Yeah. You love them. You love them. You show them that you care, right? And you spend time with them. You listen to them. You hear them out, and you hold them accountable for their actions. I mean, you can't soft shoe this thing. These kids, again, when you show them, because kids receive love through discipline, and that's where a lot of parents and a lot of people don't understand, is that it's when you don't discipline or hold your child accountable for their actions, they don't receive that as love or respect, and they lose respect for you. But the moment when they see that you are calling them out on their crap and you're holding them accountable for their actions, they know that you love them. They understand that you care about them. When you spend time and you just listen to them about their day or ask them, hey, man, how did your day go today? With prison doctor, it was better than yesterday, but, I slipped up and used a bad word. All right, listen, man, I love you, man, but look, don't let it happen tomorrow. You got to be better. Every day shouldn't be the same. Tomorrow, I expect you to do better than what you did today. When you just speak to children and really genuinely listen to them, children equate that as love, and you can elicit change like that. You elicit change like that. The reason why our children are so callous and so feel like they're unheard is because we don't spend time really listening. We're listening with phones. We're on the phone and texting and engage with other things while they're talking. There's a thing called effective communication. And the way that works is you put down your devices, you cut your TV off, and you sit there and you make eye contact with your child or that child, and you listen to them. You listen. They perceive that as love. So it's not, let me say this, and I'm going to stop. It kind of bothers me a little bit. And I'm not speaking about the audience here or anybody. I do a lot of engagements and town halls, and I spoke at the different events, and people are really beating their heads against the wall as if this is really like a hard thing. You know what I mean? It's really not. And I'm not trying to be rude. I promise you I'm not. It's not. It's love in God. That's real. And the problem is that no one believes in God or utilizes God. God has become just so fake and fictitious now that our children it's getting worse because no one is talking spirituality to our children. They're not loving them with God. And our children are not being held accountable to nothing. If listen, right. Where there's no accountability, if you think that you're it, and life is just this, and you die, and that's it, what would stop them from wilding out? They're children in the candy store. There's too many temptations out there. There's too many shiny things out there for a kid to want and desire. So if you don't get a child to understand that there's an accountability factor, that there's consequences for your action, if you don't get them to understand that, and you're not teaching that, all that other stuff that people are talking ain't gonna work, ain't gonna stick. It'll last for 1 day, 1 week, but they'll be back out there at the candy store taking and shopping for what they want.
Thank you so much, Prison Doctor.
Thank you so much. We got one more question we're trying to squeeze in. Go ahead, Angelique. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening. I thank you for joining us this evening. So my name is Angelique Newman. I am the founder and president of a local 501c3 here, CARES Community. I also am now Maryland's lead state and nationally certified credible CM3 messenger. So I am under Clinton Lacey with King Tone, trained, under the Eddie Ellis kind of program. So I am starting here to go boots on the ground with our community and part of these community conversations. So I cannot wait to you come to Maryland, and I am excited to meet with you. One thing that has been the question that's come to me a lot that they want me to ask you is when you go to meet with these children, I know we don't have much time, so I'm just going to make it real sweet. Just 3 main points. We're crying out for help for our youth to get rid of the violence, to get rid of the crime. But when you are meeting with these children, what are the 3 cries for help that you hear these children need to feel that love? Because that's one thing I love about your whole mantra. You're with the love. And, us as CM3, we are what love looks like. So I know I can't, like I said, I can't wait. But in your eyes, with your conversations with these youth, what are the 3 main issues that they are acting out for?
Right. Well, the one is, again, I sound like a broken record. Love. These kids, they do not feel loved. And they're not connecting with their parents because of the gap. You know what I mean? There's not bonding of communicating with each other, understanding each other's day. Parents are not asking kids, "How was your day?" You know, that sounds like something so well. It is, but those little key things makes a huge difference on a child, right? Asking a child, "Hey, how was your day?" You know, spending time with your child outside of the phone, outside of your boyfriend, your husband, your girlfriend, spending time with that child. And also, let me say this: teaching children their aim and purpose in life, helping them to find out why are they here. You weren't just born to die. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of kids think that. A lot of these kids, they don't value their life, and that's why a lot of kids I've talked to, they are shocked to make it to 25. A lot of kids I talk to do not think they will make it to 25. So they're living very vicariously. They're living a life that is just get money now, get pleasure now, pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. You have to start teaching these kids about aim and purpose, helping them to identify why are they here, what is their purpose in life, what can they contribute to life. If you're not doing that kind of life, if you're not speaking like that, nothing else is going to work. If you do not talk to your children about spirituality, listen, it ain't got to be about Jesus Christ. It ain't got to be about Muhammad. It ain't got to be about Buddha. But you got to speak to your children about something that's outside of themselves, that is greater than them, outside of them. Because if you don't do that, you can use any method, talk to any scholar all day around the globe. And I'm telling you, it's not going to change. That's our problem. We're trying to fix this problem with our children outside of God. So we're better than God. And that's what's happening. They're pushing God out of our lives. We're scared to speak about God in school, to our children, in the car. It's like if we say we believe in God, we're shunned. And I'm telling you, that's the works of the devil. That's the enemy. You got to speak about God to your children. And again, if you don't want to go the Christian route, fine. And at the very least, speak to them about spirituality and holding themselves accountable to something that's greater than them.
Yes, being a part of something bigger than yourself. You're not invincible. And so we're coming up onto the top of the hour of our time. And Prison Doctor, thank you. Thank you and your team, and for the time that you took to talk with us tonight. This is one of many talks that we are going to have out here in Harford County. And we're going to be reaching out to you because as people get to know the work that you've done, and we have said this before 1,000 times, Edgewood is big and small at the same time. And so even when we're on social media, we think that people know who we are until they get into a space or pocket and they are not familiar. They've never heard of it before. So they're going to get to know you by you showing up in our space today in our little town of Harford County. And I want you to continue just to pray for us as we are about a good work out here. I want to thank each and every listener that stayed on, and they're even having conversations out there now because it's so important. People are so passionate about this here. Our call to action for all the parents is to come back again. And we're going to be doing like ACEs and HOPE and things of that nature. And so those that are listening, we're going to put flyers out for our next meeting. Dr. Thank you from the bottom of our heart.
No, thank you, Felicia. But listen, for your audience, if anybody wants to contact me in Maryland or anywhere, take my number down and call me.
We've sent it out, and we're going to put it on here as well for others that they can contact you. And we're going to work on bringing you out to make some house calls. First come, first serve basis. Remember, we talked about that. And thank your lovely wife for all the work that she put into making sure that we stayed connected. And we are going to be in touch.
Thank you, Felicia, so much. You are a wonderful person. God bless you for all the work you're doing. And please contact me if you're struggling with a child or you guys know of a child going in the wrong direction. Trust me. Give me a shot.
Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Mr. Myron Fountain, the prison Doctor, and all those listening. We're going to end this stream now, 8 o'clock.